You're watching Good Day Siouxland with Mallory Smith, Nick Wilson, and meteorologist Victor Perez. From KCAU 9 News, this is Good Day Siouxland.
Good morning. It's 6:45 on this Tuesday morning. I'm Nick Wilson.
I'm Victor Perez.
Mallory has the morning off. And what are we seeing this morning? We know earlier it was kind of some quieter conditions. Has anything changed?
Still pretty quiet aside from the fact that northeastern Nebraska is still showing some pretty dense fog, which we can see here as we're taking a look out from the Wayne camera with conditions that are quite cloudy and foggy. So Megan, it's still pretty hard to see out there. Visibility down to only a few hundred feet from the looks of it as we're taking a look from Wayne, and we'll see that temperatures are in the 60s and 70s, which is right at our saturation levels. And with much of the viewing area showing calm breezes, it's been pretty easy to saturate and see some fog. Wayne still showing no visibility. Now Yankton decreasing to 0 miles as well, as we see that there have been improvements by Takema and West Point, but we'll still see some fog developing out there anyways. Nick?
All right, thanks, Victor. While former President Donald Trump is still the frontrunner in the GOP presidential campaign field, South Carolina Senator Tim Scott may have picked up new support from Friday's Lincoln dinner in Des Moines. Scott was among 13 Republican presidential candidates who addressed the crowd. Two recent polls of Iowa Republicans put Scott in third place behind Trump and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley recently spoke on what Scott is like as a colleague in the Senate.
I find him very, very understanding of how the federal government works, a limited government, leaving most of the freedoms and liberties under the Constitution to the American people to use their own efforts to rise.
Senator Grassley has not endorsed a candidate and is staying neutral in the race for the Republican nomination. Over in Nebraska, the state legislature's Education Committee is signaling lawmakers' plans for next year's legislative session. Yesterday's hearing mostly discussed social-emotional learning, or SEL. The decades-old concept aims to teach students how to manage their emotions, make good decisions, and collaborate. But some lawmakers say schools use it to promote progressive ideas about race, gender, and sexuality. During the hearing, State Senator Danielle Conrad shared one example of how SEL is used in schools.
When the assembly gets a little bit rowdy, the teachers may ask the students to take a deep breath and kind of calm down. So are you familiar with that tactic in social emotional learning?
We've been doing that for decades.
Yes.
Other witnesses at the hearing argued SEL is being used for teaching critical race theory or Marxist ideology. Other topics at the hearing included the failed Parents' Rights Bill and banning some books from school libraries. And speaking of book bans, schools across Iowa are working to comply with the state's new age-appropriate education law. The law prohibits instruction on gender identity and sexual orientation in grades K through 6, along with books that include sexual material. A Central Iowa School District superintendent has released a list of nearly 400 books she believes are banned from schools under the new law. The books include classics like Catcher in the Rye and George Orwell's 1984, as well as several children's books by author Judy Blume.
You know, for those students in our district who have families who look a little bit different, have different sexual orientation groups represented from the LGBTQ community, a lot of those books take away students being able to see families like their own and see themselves represented on those pages, and so it's really unfortunate that these books have been thrown out the window.
All of the books are still available at bookstores or online. Meanwhile, a Brown University study reports there are now around 36,000 vacant K-12 teaching jobs nationwide. The Sioux City Metro contributes around 60 of those vacancies. The shortage forces teachers to have larger class sizes and a harder time taking sick leave. It also leads to students missing learning opportunities. School districts are taking measures to fill these gaps.
Transfer teachers into classroom positions. So we have teachers that may be teaching small group intervention types of teaching. We've moved some of those teachers into classroom positions to have licensed teachers in front of our students.
Many districts have hiring bonuses associated with these vacancies. Those can range anywhere from $2,000 to $11,000. Now it's time to meet today's Stray of the Day.
Yeah, and every day we share a pet picked up by Sioux City Animal Adoption and Rescue who's waiting to go home. And today we're talking about Teddy, a 6 to 8 month old male Siberian Husky mixed puppy that weighs about 45 pounds. He was found on the 3100 block of 2nd Street. The rescue says he loves to run and that he's a perfect age for training. Teddy's available for adoption now.
If you've lost your pet, looking to adopt, or you'd like to sponsor a pet for adoption, you can visit the rescue's website. That's at SiouxCityAnimalRescue.com. Teddy sure looks like a cute fella.
Yeah, very handsome guy, light coat, but we don't have to worry too much about the hot weather today, huh?
Yeah, and I can't imagine he would want to deal with hot weather anyway, being somewhat of a bigger dog.
Yeah, than a husky, so either way. This might be more his speed, a little bit of fog to maybe cool him off, as we'll see that there have been winds flowing out pretty calmly across the area, but they're starting to pick up. Now 3 miles in Wayne and in Norfolk, 8 to our north in Lamar's, and 7s you can see by Canton, and that would be Orange City as well. Looping radar showing cloud coverage that's been moving across the area with the hint of some showers, as we'll see that temperatures across the region are going to be reported to increase, but we're still going to be remaining similar to tomorrow. Seeing some scattered showers as we go forward through the day today and into the afternoon, with the emphasis for storms to our south, closer towards the southern edges of Siouxland over by Burt and Cumming counties, as we'll see that temperatures are going to be a little bit clearer. And with the start of the day tomorrow, that clears up, so we get to warm up a little tomorrow, as we'll expect accumulation to be focused by where we saw those storms to our south. Temperatures today, another one in the mid-80s with some light showers and sprinkles through the afternoon, and clouds that linger throughout the afternoon as well into the evening. So we'll see that we fall to the 60s and then 80s that peak here on Thursday, with cloud cover still lingering as we see more clouds and showers appearing as we progress through the weekend. That will be cooler until we start to see rising temperatures next work week.
Thanks, Victor. Now we turn to sports, where a legendary group of Nebraska Huskers were on hand for a local foundation golf event. Anthony Mitchell has the details in your morning sports wrap.
Good morning, Siouxland. The Sioux City Public Schools Foundation teed up for its 3rd annual Golf for Education Classic yesterday, with Nebraska Heisman winners and Husker greats hitting the links, donating swings and time toward the nonprofit's mission. And it featured a handful, perhaps the most legendary Huskers to ever suit up for Nebraska football. Heisman winners Eric Crouch, Johnny Rogers, and Mike Rozier took part in the 18-hole foursome scramble at Sioux City Country Club, joined by fellow alums Tommy Frazier, Ricky Simmons, and Jay Foreman, a storied group of success on the gridiron who since channeled their energies into education, showing their support to further the foundation's purpose of supporting students, teachers, and staff of the Sioux City Community School District.
We all have a passion for education. Collectively, we believe that education is not part of your life. Education is life itself. So we try to hook up with all those who are trying to promote a higher education. And we got to help each other get better and better and better. And education is the fastest way there. You don't win Heisman trophies by yourself or national championships by yourself, and you don't build a good community by yourself. It's always in conjunction with others you make your greatest accomplishments, and teamwork makes your dreams work. And we're just trying to be part of that team.
And it wasn't just the former Huskers who wanted to join the effort. Close to 130 players participated in the Golf for Education Classic, the most ever in the event's 3-year history. Eric Crouch serves as a big recruiter for the foundation, so it didn't take much convincing for Rogers and the rest of the like-minded legends, an endeavor driven to create awareness for the foundation, of which raised approximately $35,000 in donations, aiming to become bigger and better each year with the help of Huskers eager to show support.
So what happened is one found out and the rest wanted to come on over too. So we had all kinds of calls and it went from there. We actually had some other players that were interested for some other teams. So we're going to look at doing that in the future and putting them on board next year. And these players, they belong to a brotherhood, if you will, for lack of a better term, and they get along really well. Whether you speak Cyclone, Hawkeye, or Husker, a chance to meet all 3 Heisman is just awesome.
The people were very enthusiastic. They were very appreciative that we did come. I think we've been here before, and so we'll probably be here again.
Elk Point and Jefferson Post 134 continues its quest for the South Dakota American Legion Class B state title, with EPJ aiming to advance in the bracket, facing off against Dell Rapids Post 65 out in Redfield. EPJ Post 134 needs a win here to advance, trailing Dell Rapids. Dell Rapids lays the bunt down with a runner on third base. EPJ fields it, throw not in time. They trail by a pair of runs. Bottom of the fourth we go. Caden Moore going with the bunt attempt right down the middle. Good placement. Wild throw to first base. EPJ takes advantage. They'd scored their first run of the game, while Moore makes it all the way to third base. Nice play there by EPJ. They'd go on to score and tie the game 4-4, forcing extra innings. This one going all the way to the ninth inning. EPJ up with 2 runners in scoring position. Pass ball from Dell Rapids. Ty Trometer dashes it in from third, steals home for the win. Elk Point and Jefferson walks it off 5-4 in 9 innings. They'll play today for the Class B championship against Tabor Post 183 at 1 p.m. And finally, a look at our American Legion State Tournament scores in Nebraska from last night. Wayne Post 43 dropped its matchup against unbeaten Plattsmouth Haswell Post 56 by a score of 4-0, while Pierce Post 72 eliminated by Springfield Post 143 in a 10-0 defeat. And that'll be all for sports. Have a good day, Siouxland.
Now let's take a look at this morning's top stories. It's what you need to know before you go. The Woodbury County Board of Supervisors is taking a look at the county ordinance on solar power and possibly expanding residents' options for its use. Back in April, supervisors directed county zoning to evaluate solar power use in Woodbury County. County staff have indicated the current county ordinances contain some contradictory language and need attention. Under the current ordinance, county residents are not allowed to erect a solar grid, with some exemptions for ag-related development. Tonight, the board will hold its first public hearing on updating the solar ordinance. They're looking to possibly add options for both private and utility scale use of the technology. The public hearing is scheduled for 4:45 p.m. And elsewhere in the metro, a retired Army Green Beret and New York Times bestselling author will headline this year's Siouxland Chamber Dinner. In August of 2021, the U.S. military quickly withdrew its forces from Afghanistan. In the following days, retired Lieutenant Colonel Scott Mann received a desperate plea for help from a former comrade. That's an Afghan commando trained by U.S. soldiers who found himself targeted by the resurgent Taliban. That's when Mann and other veterans re-engaged.
They realized that the military was not going to get these individuals out and that they had to do something. So they organized Operation Pineapple Express, and that whole process where they were able to extricate not only this individual, but their families, up to 1,000 people, while Kabul was falling, is truly, truly impressive and incredible.
The rescue operation became known as Operation Pineapple Express. Mann, who's also a playwright, will share his story September 28th at the Sioux City Convention Center. This year marks the Chamber's 37th annual dinner. And staying close to home, it's been nearly a year since Tyson Fresh Meats announced the plan to close its Dakota Dunes headquarters and relocate team members to Springdale, Arkansas. And now that plan has come to fruition, as yesterday marked the end of the line for the Dakota Dunes location. In total, some 500 workers were affected. Some relocated to Arkansas, while others decided to leave the company. The multi-million-dollar complex is now up for sale. One last look at our forecast. Are we still seeing some quiet conditions?
Yeah, for the most of us, but there is still some fog out in northeastern Nebraska. Keep an eye over by Wayne, and as it moves further towards the state lines of Nebraska and Iowa, we'll see temperatures today rising up into the mid-80s, and we have 80s for the rest of this week, peaking up on Thursday when we see those upper 80s and drier conditions until some showers through the weekend cool us off as cloud coverage begins to break as well. So we're hoping for more sunshine coming next week, Nick, but we got to wait a full week to see that really.
Gonna have to wait for that sunshine. We are looking at it quite the cloudy week ahead, aren't we?
Yeah, that's going to be sticking around, and we can see clouds right now. They're just not showing up too well on the radar, but either way, we're going to see those clouds linger through the morning and into the afternoon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Victor. Well, thanks for watching, and tune in again for KCAU 9 News this midday.